Here to talk about and grade the Oceania soap operas over the past 2.5 weeks. Now that I am only doing grades for the soap operas, I don't have time to do all the rankings at the end of the month anymore. Today we talk about Home and Away and Shortland Street, two of my favorite soap operas over the past year, and I think both are still giving some pretty solid soap opera. We are going to start with Home and Away, and I first need to give flowers to the actor Adam Rowland, who plays Remi. When Remi first came on this show last year, I didn't like the character. I felt like he had the least amount of, notes. He was kind of one note for a lot of the first months on Home and Away. And Home and Away had a lot of new characters last year because of COVID issues in Australia. So you had to get used to a bunch of new characters. And I had a hard time with him until his acting completely won me over. And his acting is the reason I've become so high on the coupling of Remi and Bree, which I wish we got a little more of over the past 2.5 weeks, but what we got of them was still good. But yes, shout out to Adam Rowland. He's a fantastic actor. I think he brings such emotion to his scenes that is very believable. And sure, he can have some melodramatic scenes, which is typical soap opera, but I think he does it all very well. Some popular Australian actors have come out of Australian soap operas. Maybe one day he will be one of them to have a hit US show or something, or maybe a movie even. But yes, Remi and Bree continue to be my favorite thing about Home and Away. The past 2.5 weeks saw Bree and Xander get close, although it was just more of a friendship thing. But the way they were writing it, I was starting to get annoyed and like, are they really going to put Bree with Xander even though she shouldn't want any relationship right now? And that's her whole excuse of why she doesn't want to be with Remi after she got out of this abusive relationship where she had to kill her ex-husband. And then Remi himself pointed that out to Bree, and she got offended and said he was being like her abusive ex, which I think was a little much, which they kind of apologized to each other after at least. But I think the reason we all felt that way, and even Remi himself maybe was a poke at the writing itself, is because these Australian soap operas over the years, Home and Away, Shortland Street, Neighbours, can be very plot driven. So it wouldn't be surprising when one character gets out of a relationship and gets right into another one, because it happens all the time in the Oceania soap operas, if you will. But I like that Remi and Bree kind of made up after that, and Bree just needs time to heal, which I think is realistic for everything she's been through. She also felt like her and Remi were just an affair because that's kind of what it was. She was still married to Jacob at the time, even though the abusive relationship wasn't working out. But yeah, I really love Bree and Remi as a couple, and the character of Remi is going through a lot more as well because he got injured by Jacob back during the season finale last year, and now he has hand pain because he broke his hand. And because of the hand pain, it's getting worse and worse, so he's feeling in pain all the time. He can't play in the band anymore, which obviously he plays guitar, I think, in the band. Big important part of the lyric band. And we have Theo and Kirby having to perform without Eden and Remi because of all they're going through. Eden was in the hospital after the car crash. Remi's still going through his broken hand troubles. So Remi was having a hard time watching his own band perform without him. And so he was getting pretty depressed, feeling like he can't be in the band, he can't be with Bree, he was even considering leaving. But I think all in all, it's made me care more and more about the character of Remi, and I've gone from not liking the character at all to him now being one of my favorites. And speaking of favorites, I complained in my January Home and Away video that Rose wasn't getting her own story, but finally it seems we do have a possible love interest for Rose. A new character named Mally, I don't know how to pronounce his name, But their trouble is that he doesn't like that Rose is a cop. So I don't know if that means he has some sort of shady history we'll get to. But I am just glad that Rose has found a love interest and can finally have a new story of her own, because she deserves it. She's probably my favorite woman character on the show, whereas Remi's my favorite male character on the show right now as it stands. Some of the other bigger stories, of course, every relationship on Home and Away has something keeping them apart right now, really. We have that Molly doesn't like that Rose as a cop. We have Bree needing to heal, and she can't be with Remi because of that right now. And then we have Eden having probably the worst written thing, where she doesn't have a memory of her relationship with Cash. That was kind of a budding romance, but she remembers almost everything else. I don't like the writing for the story, because it's kind of like she can remember everything but her relationship with Cash, please. And I don't like that coupling anyway. And then Felicity and Tanya are having problems, because ever since the crash, Felicity started drinking again. Was keeping that from him at first until Nicole found out about it. And then once Tanya does find out about it, they're having a lot of fights, and she ends up ending things with him, so they're having a lot of trouble. Theo's stalker was revealed to be Justin's estranged daughter, Ava. So that's an interesting development, of course, because Justin's kind of raised Theo to kind of be his own. And now his estranged daughter seems to be very obsessed with Theo. So that could be an interesting story. We'll see if that causes problems for Theo and Kirby. I don't know, Coronation Street's also doing a stalking story right now. And I think theirs is being done a little bit better. But I still think this stalking story has a lot of potential to be interesting. And then lastly is just Ziggy and Dean had the baby. They're dealing with a newborn baby. I feel like their entire pregnancy story has been so basic. It's just running down every basic plot point of any soap opera pregnancy of ever done. But I think all in all, Home and Away is still a pretty strong viewing. I gave it a C grade, higher than anything on American soap operas at least, which isn't that hard to do right now, honestly. But yeah, it's still solid, and I still have a lot of favorites, and a lot of interesting developments are still happening on Home and Away, which I appreciate. And now we must head to New Zealand to talk about Shortland Street, which continues to be one of the best soap operas going. Currently, you can find episodes on YouTube. I don't know how long that will be happening, but you can't find episodes on YouTube right now. If you want to check out Shortland Street for the first time, if you only watch my American soap opera videos because you watch American soap operas, or you only watch my British soap opera videos because you watch British soap operas, check out Shortland Street. It's a very good viewing, and their main story continues to get a lot of intertwining, that being the Brightshine cult, which continues to get a bigger and bigger grasp on Shortland Street Hospital as a whole, because Rebecca is now heading up the hospital, and there's been a lot of pushback from some of the workers, but Rebecca continues to win them over, and then it was just Chris trying to fight for Shortland Street, even though the only reason Shortland Street got back up in the first place is because Chris put his money towards it. But seems that more people, higher ups, are taking Rebecca's side because she is paying a lot of people off. There was the racist character named Emmett, who Rebecca was having head up parts of the hospital despite his homophobia and his racism. So there was a lot of complaints about that. So Rebecca eventually fired him, only to save face, it felt like. And not only did she just fire him from the hospital, but it seems she made him a deacon at Brightshine after firing him at Shortland Street. So there's all of this connections with Brightshine now, where there is like a hierarchy of the cult. Rebecca's at the top, but then we have all these other people that she brings in. There's like this therapist woman who I think has a connection to Brightshine. And of course, like many cults, the message is good. like Scientology. I'm sure the message sounds so good. But when you really get into it and they suck you in the cult, you find out things are not always as it seems. And of course, things are not as it seems with Rebecca and Scott. Scott's now dead because Rebecca killed him. But yeah, Scott was killing people, Rebecca killed Scott. So clearly there's a lot of criminal activity happening with Brightshine. But the most compelling part of the storyline has been Mauve, because Mauve lost Wilder when Scott drowned Wilder and killed him, and she's felt that losing her son put her in this huge depression, so much so that Mauve tried to kill herself by drowning herself, similar to how Wilder died, because she was feeling so depressed. But she was saved, I think, by Monique, seeing that happening. But Maeve's been trying to figure out more and more what's happening at Brightshine, because she believes Brightshine might be responsible for Wilder's death, seeing as the death took place at one of the Brightshine's parties. And she doesn't believe that it was just a drug-induced death and that Wilder was taking drugs and drowned. She's been trying to find out info on Rebecca, but by doing so, her and Rebecca have started getting very, very close. So much so that they kissed. And while this is all going on, Nicole, her ex, has been getting close to Drew, even though Nicole's supposed to be best friends with Drew's wife, basically. But Drew's wife is out of town, and they haven't really made it clear if they're like going through a divorce or not, but I guess maybe so. If Harper just left, Drew wants to divorce her. But yeah, Nicole having an affair with Drew, where they've been kissing all up on each other. So then when Nicole finds Mauve and Rebecca kissing and starts going at Mauve, it was very eye-roll worthy, because Nicole's doing the same thing with Drew. So Nicole doesn't have a lot of room to talk. The Nicole-Mauve relationship has become very toxic over time, and a lot of that was because of Mauve, in my opinion. But Nicole's never been completely innocent in that either, and she's certainly not innocent now when she's carrying on with Drew and getting mad at Mauve for wanting to start something up with Rebecca. But Mauve is playing a kind of dangerous game with Rebecca. But I think we are getting some interesting insight into Rebecca, because it seems like she had to repress her feelings for other women when she was young. It was her parents that made her start going to a church and start to pray away her lesbianism. So that's an interesting turn on the Rebecca character, that we kind of get the origin story to Rebecca and maybe why she is in this religious cult of Brightshine now. A lot of hope is that Mauve is playing Rebecca and that Mauve will be the one to take down Rebecca. And I think I would probably hope that too. But right now, Mauve still has a pretty good grasp on a lot of people in Shortland Street, and Brightshine continues to get its way and getting its heels dug deeper and deeper on the show as a cult. Other things that happened, though, unfortunately, Esther had a miscarriage towards the end of these last 2.5 weeks that I will be grading today. Esther already has a hard time with having babies because of an issue she has with her heart, I believe. And so this is, of course, causing problems for her and Marty. Mauve is having some good talks with Esther, though, because obviously Mauve lost Wilder, her son. So she's trying to help Esther with this miscarriage loss, which I think is a nice touch. I think all of these stories have been very well written still on Shortland Street. It's been months and months now where Shortland Street's just been banging out some great writing. However, I do need to touch upon my least favorite thing of the past 2.5 weeks. They set up a very intriguing thing with I talked about it in my Shortland Street video for January, where after the fire, there's a man with bandages all around who doesn't have a memory. And Madonna's hoping it's Mark, even though their relationship was terrible. She's hoping it's Mark. She's doing all her praying. And, of course, it does turn out to be Mark. And it's just Mark being pissed at Madonna He's all burnt up, and he actually does have a memory. He's just been playing Madonna. I didn't like it because the story had all this intrigue, only for it to be a psychopath Mark wanting to seek revenge on Madonna. Didn't like it. I thought that could have been done a whole lot better. The execution failed on that, but hopefully Mark is gone now because the character was sucky from the start. But yes, I think overall Shortland Street continues to be one of the best soap operas around to watch. So check it out on YouTube if you get a chance. I gave it a really good grade to me because I could be a harsh grader. I gave it a B-, which is, it's going to be hard for any of these soap operas to ever get a B, to ever be in the Bs. If it ever gives an A, whew, then it must be really good. But since I'm now grading old soap operas, I really need to get my grading down and to what constitutes an A, what constitutes a B. And right now, Shortland Street's a solid B-, but there is still room for improvement because, the Mark story wasn't good, but everything overall is still great.